Welcome to NBA Live Before Luck. It is Sunday, January 31st. We're almost into February, which means I'm going to be 36 years old soon. That is not at all what I'm looking for. It's going to be a fun Sunday night show. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Eric Lindquist. We are here to break down these four games and take you all the way up until a lovely lock at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So let's start here. Eric, how are you?
Doing well. Before we get going, I want to give my 4-year-old niece a shout out. Happy birthday. She's back in South Dakota enjoying Princess Party and doing all the things. And, you know, I'm out here in LA, but I just want to give her a shout out. Love her. Have a good day, Nora.
Is she watching?
So she randomly sometimes like clicks on the link on accident, watches it for like 30 seconds, and then like calls her grandma in. So my mom, she'll be like, I don't want to watch this anymore. And she'll put on something else more entertaining for her. So.
Okay, that's fair. I'll make sure that I don't say anything ridiculous for the first 5 minutes of this show. But you know,
I censored you early. Yeah,
that's smart. It's definitely better to get out in front of that one. So happy birthday to Nora as well. I think I'm remembering the name correctly. It was 2 minutes ago, and I already forgot. But that's neither here nor there. We've got 4 games to talk about. We've got no Joel Embiid, so it's either Dwight Howard season or Tony Bradley season. It's probably both of their seasons, but maybe more so Tony Bradley. But we have a ton of time to get through all of this. We're going to hit on every single game. There's no strategy show on Sundays, or at least I don't think there was a strategy show this morning. There normally isn't. No football, so it makes it weird. It is Royal Rumble Sunday. I forgot about that until right now. So all you WWE maniacs, good luck on the Rumble tonight. Let's just dive into some of these games. But before we do, we're at about 1,000 people already, which feels fantastic. 124 likes. I didn't even have to say anything. And I need to check this right now. Did we hit 50,000 subscribers yet? We were like 40 short or something earlier today.
Something really close. Not
quite. Look it up quick. I need to see where we're at.
This might be the show it happens on.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't want to miss it. Emac sent me the heads up. So we are 39 subscribers short of 50,000. Can we get 39 new subscribers while we're on this show? Can that happen? I hope that it can happen, because if it does, I will be able to hang that over Laffy's head for the rest of my life and rub it in his face like a dog that peed on the carpet. And that's exactly what I want to do right now. But before we do that, hit that like button. Seriously, though, subscribe to the channel. If we can hit 50K, that's awesome. I was here when it started at 0, and I'm here at 50K, and that's kind of an incredible journey. So let's just dive into this slate. We'll start with the game that's most ridiculous, the Brooklyn Nets at the Washington Wizards. Nets are 6-point favorites in Washington, total somewhere in like the 245 range. No James Harden for Brooklyn, and everybody essentially is back for Washington, so I don't have a clue who's actually going to be playing for these guys. Let's start on the Brooklyn side. How are you feeling about Kyrie and Kevin Durant?
I mean, it's hard not to absolutely love them. If whatever number you get to, it's hard to say that there's anything against it. These numbers, these inflated numbers for all three when they're all playing, when it's Harden, Kyrie, when it's Durant, when it's all three of them together, it's so hard to pick and choose. I usually end up kind of de facto playing Durant over on FanDuel because of the small forward position. Yeah. Here, it's just like, load up, have as much fun as you want, because we have now value that's kind of emerged in Bradley and Dwight and other spots. We have Terrence Davis, we have Watanabe if you want to get weird. We have so many spots to go to. So I really have no problem getting to whatever number of Kyrie and Durant you want. I'm assuming as this show goes on, because of the Bradley news and because of Dwight, we're going to see that ownership come up big time, especially over on DraftKings, where they were muted a little under 30%.
So I'm just going to hit you with a quick question, because I just ran my first crunch and I refreshed it fully raw. Like, I haven't made any adjustments or anything. Just the first thing I see. Do you like Kyrie Irving more than Kyle Lowry at 6,600 at the point guard spot on FanDuel tonight?
No.
Okay. Good answer.
So I guess I should probably elaborate. I think that's what we're here to do. So because of that 10-6 number on FanDuel exists, because Aaron Gordon, I'm getting so chalky with that as well. I have to find other spots to go to. I think because of the Ben Simmons experiment that I'm going to fully, load up on again today, I'm kind of losing and dipping some of that exposure that otherwise would have been going to Lowry. And I got to kind of find a spot to pivot. And that's just going to be one of them for me.
Okay. We will dive into that a little bit further. So obviously we know that paying up for Kyrie and Kevin Durant not going to be a problem. Kyrie 9,300 on FanDuel, 9,300 on DraftKings. Durant is 10-6 and 10-1. And I don't see either one of those price tags as all that problematic. You know what you're getting out of these guys, particularly against a Washington team that is not putting up much of a defensive fight. The overall total for this game is 22 points north of the next closest game on a 4-game slate. That's sort of insane. So we know that Kyrie and Kevin Durant are going to be projected for a ton of fantasy points and a ton of usage and value. What else do you want from Brooklyn tonight?
So kind of my main target, and I think we had kind of had a discussion about this on our first show way back when, because it was coming off of a day where he went off, but Joe Harris is kind of a guy that I'm starting to get a lot of. On FanDuel, at small forward, you're trying to find some like different spots to go to with him. 4,900 makes a lot of my builds work over there. 5,500, less intriguing over on DraftKings, but obviously can spike a 3-point upside any given second. There are much more opportunities now that James Harden's getting the ball out of his hands. It becomes a spot where him coming in and being able to kind of have that second unit run, hopefully, where they're going to stagger Kyrie and Durant throughout a lot of that game. I think Joe Harris kind of is an underlooked piece of value. I know because Bruce Brown is going to be the guy that everybody's going to. But again, with FanDuel, if you're going to be playing Aaron Gordon, you got to find some of these spots to pivot a little bit. And I know Bruce Brown makes a lot of things work maybe on DraftKings, but I'm so much more interested in the 3,100 Bradley play now that I know that he makes a lot of things work there too. I just am not getting as much as the field right now.
So, like I said, I just refreshed my crunch. It's the first crunch that I ran. I haven't made a single tweak. Joe Harris, my most exposed small forward, massively ahead of everyone else. Now, we have had a similar story before where you and I were in lockstep for a show, and those locksteps led to me having significantly more money in my pocket than I normally do.
You're welcome.
Hoping this. Yeah, I appreciate it wholeheartedly. It was really great. The wife loved it too. It got her an upgrade on her flight to Aruba 2 days ago, which is very nice. Anybody else that you're looking at from the Brooklyn side, whether that's, I don't know, is it TLC? Is it Jeff Green in a spot like this against Washington where a center might not be all that important? Does DeAndre Jordan have any value? 4,900 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DK. There should be fantasy points abound in this one.
My biggest problem is that you're looking at ownership that's still in the teens for a lot of these guys. Like TLC is getting 12.5% over on DK in our last run over here at Awesemo. Yep. I don't really want to go there at a popular spot now that you have other value that's emerged. We're still waiting on the D'Angelo Russell news and the Naz Reid news. And so we'll see kind of how those two break out. I'd be much more interested in trying to stack up on some lower owned pieces rather than trying to jam in TLC, which just feels thin right now. If he had no ownership, if it were like the inverse where he was getting 3-4%, sure, go ahead and take some darts, but he's going to be pretty popular. I understand the play. I understand because you're looking at a total right now that's sitting at 245.5, which is just outrageous. So I understand the play. It's just not for me when the ownership is already there. And I can't see that changing too much coming off of a good game.
Okay, let's slide over then to Washington, where they finally have everybody back. They've been missing basically half of their team due to COVID protocols and injuries and just little bits of everything. And now it seems like everyone is back. So we know what we're going to get out of Bradley Beal. He's 11K on FanDuel. He's 10-2 on DK. I don't even really think that everybody being back is all that big of a deal. I mean, he's going to take a mild usage hit. It doesn't mean that he has to take every shot any longer, but at the same time, you know what you're getting out of Bradley Beal. So I don't mind getting to him. He's just expensive now. Russell Westbrook hasn't played over 30 minutes in a bit of a long time now, and I don't know if he's going to, but I still have him projected as if he's going to play like a normal starter. Let's start with just those two guys. How are you feeling about Beal and Westbrook here against Brooklyn?
So just looking at ownership right now, we've got Westbrook just above 20, Bradley Beal sitting at 17.4. Shooting guard is a spot where there aren't as many, there is some opportunity cost just in terms of there's more spots to pay up for at other positions. Like Bradley Beal's kind of like the lone guy at 11K on FanDuel, 8,700 Fred VanVleet. So like D'Angelo Russell, if he ends up not playing at 7,500, like you're looking at two guys that are really pay up options there. Like Bradley Beal would be the guy I could definitely see myself getting overweight on. Point guard, you don't like with Russell Westbrook. I can't believe that number is that high. First of all, I know he hasn't been playing. Like I'm just kind of surprised to see that number there. So I think I'm going to kind of nerf his projection a little bit to make sure that I get underneath the field. Looking at Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, I like Brogdon more, not straight up, but like he's within like 2 for me in my projections I'm looking at here right now. So like I have no problem like kind of taking him down as the guy that I want the least of out of those two, and then just going overweight on Bradley Beal purely from a positional standpoint.
I have very little interest in Russell Westbrook tonight. I'm not sure what the real appeal is. Why should we be expecting him to play big minutes?
I don't get it. So that was the other thing too. The other night, it was the John Wall, Russell Westbrook, when they were both like projected. I know that there weren't that many options at point guard, but there were some like decent 4 or 5K spots to go to. It felt really, really thin to jam him in. Now Wall, obviously, I think was a blowout that might have saved me a little bit because I think he might have seen a little bit of extra minutes in that situation. But Westbrook specifically, we're just not seeing it out of him. And until that tag comes down drastically over on FanDuel, it's just really hard to get there when turnovers are worth 1, when you're not getting triple-double, double-double bonuses, which is kind of the main appeal of playing him in any way, shape, or form. So going over to DraftKings, I guess that's kind of I know we're both playing primarily on FanDuel today, but just to like touch base on DraftKings, like Russell Westbrook makes way more sense over there. But I'm still not going to get there in my couple lineups I'm making over there. I just can't see it.
No, I'm not all that interested. Are you doing anything else with Washington now that everybody's back? Does anybody pop off as a sort of value play that you have your eye on?
So Bertans, I'm curious, like we'll see now that Denny's back in that lineup, we'll kind of see where his ownership comes at. You're looking at a nice like price discount over there, 4,600 over on FanDuel. They said that they were going to limit his minutes, and he still played 26 minutes that first time out of the gate. So he's going to be getting that second unit run. I think I saw Hachimura was in the starting lineup with Denny. And so Bertans coming in with that second unit. I don't mind having a guy who can spike a shooting upside. He went 0 for last time out. I'm expecting that to rebound. If you go through his game log, it's kind of crazy to see how many times he's just like feast or famine. Like that's just kind of the guy he is. 4,600. There's obviously room for him to get on top of that tag.
Anything else from the Washington side?
God, it feels so thin and so gross down there. And to have Hachimura at small forward over there now that I have so much interest in Harris and so much interest in Durant, and that I'm planning on being way over the field on both of them, I don't really need to. I don't need to get that thin.
2,750 people in here right now.
Wow.
That's what happens when there's no NBA or NFL games going on. We are the cat's meow. We're the bell of the ball for the next 45 minutes. Coming up on 2,800, 434 likes. I don't even have to ask. We're 2 subscribers away from 50,000. Guys, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done it yet, do it right now. We're doing 50K on this stream. I might not even talk about basketball now. You got to hit the 50K mark. We're going to move on to Orlando and Toronto, but we have bigger things afoot. If you have never subscribed to this channel before, now's the time to do it. 2 spots left. It's 49,998. That's what's showing up right now. We're going to do some fun stuff for 50K. We haven't told you guys what it is yet, but I promise it's happening. And I don't even know what it is yet. I'm just making that up, but I assume we're doing something. 50,023 subscribers. There it is. That's it. Clap it up, awesemo.com. Clap it up to the viewers of this show. Thank you guys so much. 50,000 subscribers on the awesemo.com YouTube channel. I'm honored. I did this from the jump. I think I actually created the YouTube channel, if I'm being honest. I think that's something that I did. It was under my email for a bit. We had to change that. But to see it go from 0 to 50K in the past 3 years is awesome. So to everybody that is listening, to everybody that has clicked the subscribe button, thank you very much for it. It's awesome. I see chat going absolutely bonkers talking about it. Eric, this is a big one. This is a monumental occurrence. Wow. You and I are here for the goods.
I can't believe I get to be the guy in this position. This is crazy. Shout out to Laffy. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Emac.
No shout out to Laffy whatsoever. He's done nothing for this.
Easy,
not a single thing.
Easy. Shout out to all those guys. Prestige worldwide. No, it's fantastic that like this has worked out, that we get to be on this, but shout out to those guys. It's been such a fun ride, even for the last couple months for me, just to kind of see what you guys created here and to kind of jump along and tag team in here and there when I can. This is pretty darn cool.
It really is. I'm really happy. This is awesome. And all this means now is that we get to bludgeon you guys for 60K and 70K, 80K until we get to 100,000. None of this changes.
It never stops. Yeah, the grind never stops.
This is really awesome. This is a fun way to close out a nice Sunday night show. These messages are screaming by. It's so hard for me to even see all the thanks. So I appreciate everybody that's saying what up. Yeah, we're blowing that 50K mark out of the water. This is fun way to close it out. Oh no, I just hit refresh and it went back down to 49,998, but we're going to pretend like that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, didn't happen.
Don't be unsubscribing, people. That's not fun at all. I appreciate you guys. Let's move on to the next game. Since everybody is still here for NBA content, the Orlando Magic at the Toronto Raptors. Pretty much business as usual for Orlando. For Toronto, it's looking like no Norm Powell, no OG Anunoby, which kind of opens up some weird stuff. We'll start on the Orlando side. Aaron Gordon is once again the heavy chalk on FanDuel. I'm going right back to it. Hasn't been fun the past 2 times. What are you doing with Aaron Gordon?
Near lock. I'm right there with you. Actually, if you looked at over our leverage score on the boom bust tool, which I couldn't believe there was leverage to be had on Aaron Gordon. I know he's burned a lot of people. 5,500 on FanDuel is just outrageous. It's outrageous. So I know that if you click on the box score, you look at those last 2 before the hip injury, before the back problems, before all of this stuff, it's if you look before that, it was beautiful. You saw a 50-point upside multiple times. Even 3 games ago, he sat in the late 30s. So like, I have no problem just jamming in as much as I humanly possibly can. I know Bradley showed up now, so that's kind of the main conversation to have is how much of both of them to go to, and if there's anybody else at the position you would have interest in, because it feels so easy to go overweight on those 2 and move on to other places.
So I'm actually trying to be relatively neutral to Gordon and Bradley and trying to get a little bit more aggressive on a couple other guys. So I'm a bit heavier on Jared Vanderbilt, Chris Boucher, Davis Bertans. Not that I'm like excited about it. I just don't want to put all of my eggs into that basket on the 4-gamer. So I am trying to mostly hold hands with the rest of the field. Is there anything else that stands out to you from Orlando? I think Vooch looks pretty good, 9,400 on FanDuel, 8,700 on DraftKings. That's, what you're getting out of Vooch. He's like a 20-10 guy permanently. Any Fournier, Cole Anthony, anything else standing out?
Yeah, so Evan Fournier is fine. Small forwards, like on FanDuel, doesn't necessarily like really get me going so much. But like going over to shooting guard, he projects pretty darn well, 6,500. Again, the 3-point little upside that you get over on DK can kind of be worth it with him if you were to like spike an upside. He's projecting out a little bit better for me over there. So I wouldn't have too many issues going there. Kem Birch is kind of like in no man's land now on FanDuel because he's 4,500. He's just kind of like, I had some interest beforehand. Like I was pairing a lot of my lineups with Gordon and Birch together. I was getting a lot of that type of build, and now it's just becoming Bradley because why wouldn't it at this point? So that's kind of getting different. I am trying to get more of the Bertans thing. So just talking about the position in general, like Kem Birch, Gary Clark are kind of a no for me now just because of everything else. Like the opportunity cost of not playing Bradley there is just absurd at this point.
It's crazy. At 3,900 and Aaron Gordon at 5,500 allows you to basically roster everybody else at any position that you want.
And Vooch, we know the upside as well. So 9,400, it's fine. Biggest problem for me is just like if you're going to be going overweight on Gordon, like you kind of wanted to get the boards, you kind of wanted to spike a little of the upside, but they don't really necessarily. I don't have any problem playing them both together, and we know what Vooch can do. So just fire it up. And for me, I'm getting about at the field, and that's fine by me.
We did get 2 super chats. I don't want to miss them. Mike Peterson dropped one in here before, a nice one. He said, Josh, is today the day that Aaron Gordon will boom? He's been drowning me. I hope so, but he's been drowning me as well. And then James says, my man Josh, long time, my brother, Terrence Ross and Brogdon or Jeremy Lamb and Vooch. He's putting it all on me or us in this one.
I'll let you take that one, my lord. Those are both pretty unfun.
Yeah, it's...
I hope this is like your 20th lineup rather than your 1 lineup.
Probably Jeremy Lamb and Vooch for me. I think Vooch just feels a little... Like, I like Brogdon for sure. But I think that I would take Vooch over Brogdon. And at that point, I would definitely take Jeremy Lamb before I took Terrence Ross. So it's going to be Vooch and Jeremy Lamb, but it's not any sort of lock button type situation.
Love it.
Anything else from the Magic side of this game?
Yeah, Terrence Ross, we know he can spike an upside shooting at any given point. 5,100 over on FanDuel. That's fine. No problem going to that. DK, it's so hard to get to any of these guys besides Vooch because you're getting that 8,700 discount over there. I have one share in my 3 lineups that I'm making over on DraftKings, but that's going to kind of be what makes sense there. 8,700 is fine. I just don't see a whole lot else that I need to go to on this slate. Like Ennis, no. Bacon, no. Ross on FanDuel, no. Cole Anthony, couple shares of, but nothing special.
I think we're on the same page. So we got to move over to Toronto. No OG, no Norm Powell. Is it Terrence Davis Day, 3,800 on FanDuel? Is it I don't know who day on Toronto that isn't Kyle Lowry or Pascal Siakam? Because to me, it's Kyle Lowry day for 6,600 on FanDuel. I'd actually still be perfectly cool with $7,200 Kyle Lowry, but any one of the Lowry, Siakam, Van Vliet trio on DraftKings is pretty much the same to me. They're all basically the same price. They're all going to play similar amount of minutes. They're all similar fantasy point projections. In my baseline, I have Kyle Lowry as a 1.03 guy, Pascal Siakam as a 1.03 guy, and Fred Van Vliet as a 1.04 guy. They're all the same person. So on DK, I don't really care about them. On FanDuel, Lowry's 6,600, Pascal Siakam 7,500, Fred Van Vliet is 8,700. So we're getting a very different experience on one site compared to the other. How are you handling Toronto? By the way, D'Angelo Russell in, Naz Reid is going to warm up to see if he is able to play.
Yeah, so that makes Russell very intriguing to talk about on FanDuel when we get there. But anyway, yes. For me, so yeah, we're also seeing a very different experience with Fred Van Vliet this year. He's definitely taken over more ownership over this offense, and that's definitely leaked into Kyle Lowry and definitely leaked into this price. But now we have seen that price adjust, and historical pricing on him is a 75 8K guy. So it's hard not to have interest in that price tag and go way over top of the field there too. I really don't know what else to say about this. Like, I know that it's not fun to say bash over the chalk on Gordon and on Lowry on FanDuel, but it just makes way too much sense on this slate. It makes it way too easy to get to Durant, to some of these other guys. I mean, what's Kyle Lowry going to fail out of this? Like, what's in the boom bust tool? I'm curious. I'll take a look at it here while I throw it over to you, but I'm just curious, like, what his bust number is at that price. It's just got to be so ridiculously low.
It's got to be almost minuscule. There, just at that price tag, he'd have to get hurt. Like, there's that he booms
basically
all that
20%, but he booms at 36. So like you're talking about a guy who more than a third of the time is going to outproject his 75%. Like, if you're basically talking about this on the curve, like, he's going to outproduce his projections like over 75% by like a third of the time. So like, let's sign up for Kyle Lowry and move on.
Yeah, there's no reason to look to a different direction on FanDuel because of that price tag. It's just a broken price in comparison to the rest of the guys from Toronto. It does actually make me like mildly interested in Fred Van Vliet as a pay up to be contrarian guy. His ownership significantly lower than I was expecting, 14%.
And that's the same thing we were talking about on shooting guard, where there's only so many options to go to in that situation. We have so many more options at point guard where you could spend up for. And if you eat the chalk on Lowry, you're able to get to players that other people can't. You're able to get to Beal. You're able to get, up to Fred Van Vliet, and you can pair them together. There's no problem with that whatsoever. Like, I'm all about that.
Okay, we're on the same page there. I just like manually gave myself a little bit more Fred Van Vliet, just looking at it thinking, well, on a 4-game slate, like maybe raw points are all that really matters, and him not being that big of a value doesn't matter so much at that shooting guard spot. But shooting guard is, pretty heavy at the top between Russell, Sexton, Bradley Beal, Fred Van Vliet. Like, there's enough up there to pay for, and there's enough value out there that it doesn't really matter. It's kind of easy to get to these guys.
Yep.
Anything else for Toronto?
Not real. I mean, we got to talk a little bit. Terrence Davis, you're looking at an abysmal performance last time out. He played 19 minutes. He kind of got limited. Watanabe played pretty darn well. He had a little bit of a shooting extreme, went like 6 for 7, I believe it was. And so I really don't have interest going back there. I have a couple shares on DK just to like jam in some stuff, but that's in lower dollar stuff that I'm not too worried about. It's for my 2 lineups, and then I'm playing like one big lineup. Definitely doesn't have Watanabe, but there's definitely some merit to going back to Terrence Davis. If he plays well, he's in the starting lineup. I believe so. I think I just saw that lineup came out, and so I'm happy to go Terrence Davis and hope for that 24-25 minutes over on DK. Less so on FanDuel.
Yeah, he is starting. I don't have much interest on FanDuel. I actually think he's going a little bit over-owned given where value is elsewhere. So I'm not all that enamored with him. I think we could probably just move it on to game number 3. But before we do that, follow at Awesemo NBA. You're going to see some tweets popping up on the left-hand side of the screen while we're doing this show anytime news is popping off. And you should just follow at Awesemo NBA so you can get that news. The news god, El Negro Loco, is manning the forefront of that Twitter account. You're going to get retweets and regular tweets just coming from him and from that account, and it'll allow you to not miss any of the relevant news that's coming out for the NBA. And if you're playing NBA DFS, news is everything. If you're not sitting around here from 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock, you're probably going to lose your money that night. It's basically, there's no way around playing NBA DFS without being on top of the news. And the easiest way to be on top of the news is to follow at Awesemo NBA. So go ahead, do that because it's awesome. That's really the best thing that I could say right now. Let's move on to the next one.
What a plug.
It's incredible. Philadelphia 76ers at the Indiana Pacers. Pacers were 2-point underdogs. I'm going to go ahead and assume that line moved to somewhere near a pick'em. Let's find out.
Had to.
But no, not even close. Pacers 3-point favorites right now.
There we go.
221 total. Let's just start with the easy piece. No Joel Embiid. Tony Bradley starting for Philadelphia, not Joel Embiid. Not Dwight Howard. But how are you feeling about Tony Bradley and Dwight Howard as the centers for this Philadelphia team tonight?
I feel pretty darn good about it. 4,600 on FanDuel. Dwight Howard, I'm definitely going to be over the field. I think that was kind of the thing we were talking about a little bit before the show. But I know Bradley will probably be the guy who ends up in the starting lineup. We don't have that. I don't see it yet. But I saw that there was a tweet out that they were talking about Bradley going to be starting. So
he is starting from what I saw.
There we go. 3,900 FanDuel, load up. 3,100 DraftKings, load up. There's no way around it. The only route he really has to failing at this spot would be Dwight Howard comes in for his first run and just annihilates. And then it becomes the reverse of what the last time out was when Dwight got benched coming into the second half. And I don't really see that happening here because Bradley's, he's a serviceable backup. He was in Utah. He's serviceable here. There's no way around it. I will have tons and tons.
Yeah. What
do you say?
For him on FanDuel at 3,900, it's a no-brainer. He's the starting power forward, in this case, a starting center, but at power forward on FanDuel, I can't even think twice. That's just an incredible price. On DraftKings, Bradley is 3,100. So again, no issue whatsoever jamming that straight in, $100 below the minimum. And then Dwight Howard is 3,800 on DK. You can't get away from these Philly guys on DK because of those prices. They open up everything. I wouldn't. I don't have any problem playing Tony Bradley and Dwight Howard together on DraftKings, given their prices. 3,100 and 3,800 makes that so I'm not all that worried about it. If we're gonna just set a general value scenario here, let's just say we're looking for 70 total fantasy points between the two. That's not particularly likely, but most people aren't likely to hit GPP scores. There's a handful that hit something that you have to have. Mm-hmm. Those guys, just from rebounds alone, can have themselves in a really, really nice spot. So just from a DK perspective, I don't mind using them both together. On FanDuel, where Bradley's 3,900 and Dwight is 4,600, it wouldn't be my dream build because Howard is at center.
So the question is,
it's not my least favorite thing in the world.
Have you redone your sim yet? Because I know that that's kind of a big part of your process. Have you redone your sim? How many times are they both showing up in the optimal lineup?
I don't know how quickly I can give you that information.
No, you're fine. I guess I'm not putting you on the spot for it. It's just curious because I'd be curious how much overlap there is between the two because Bradley's number is going to come in exponentially higher because he's at power forward, he's cheaper, and he's starting. But if Dwight Howard is sitting, if there's any kind of leverage to be had there, I can't see a way, you can play out the game scenario 25 minutes, 26 minutes for Bradley, 22 for Dwight. Dwight still at 4,600 has room for in 22 minutes him getting on top of that tag. Bradley obviously as well. So pairing them together, I don't see a crazy amount of problem. I know that they won't share minutes. I know that that's probably not going to be the scenario that we see at any point against Indiana. No. However, you do have Sabonis and Turner. So there might be a scenario where those two are on the floor where that might happen. Maybe I haven't really thought about that too much, but I could see them on the floor in some spots. So there might be some minutes overlap. I don't have a crazy problem. Normally I would have some kind of a rule in place to not get these two, but considering not only are they listed at different positions on FanDuel, so it has no problem with it, but they're both so cheap and cheap enough that they could both end up as GPP guys, and it wouldn't surprise me.
5%, by the way.
Okay, there we go. I tried to give it as much time as I could to see if we could hammer that thing out. Well done.
I appreciate it. Good looking out, man. Yeah, 5% of the time in the results of my simulations, Dwight Howard and Tony Bradley were in the same optimal lineup on FanDuel. I don't have it for DraftKings. I didn't run it because I wasn't playing DK. So I would guess that it's probably comparable, if not maybe slightly higher, just given their price tags there.
So now the question becomes, the main reason that I asked that is, how many times do you think, or how many lineups do you think today will have both of them in? More, greater or less than 5%? I would say less. Yeah, for sure. Less as well. So I think you have leverage in playing them both together, which is what my argument was going to be, and that's kind of what I was planning on doing.
Yeah, I have no problem doing it on FanDuel. It's not something that I want to have a ton of. In fact, I did just sort of finish off what my crunch was and dial in my actual exposures. So let me check to see how much I have of the two of them. So Dwight Howard in one, Tony Bradley in the other. I have 40 of my 150.
Oh, baby, let's go. That's great.
Yeah, that feels wildly incorrect.
That feels wildly high. That's very high, but I mean, again, I'm going to have something close to out of 150 having 15, so having 10% of the two together is kind of what I'm looking at.
40 of my 115 Tony Bradley lineups also have Dwight.
Oh, baby. You are on board with this. I'm here for it. This is great.
I have to. Yeah, I don't mind. There's not that many, I don't really love the point guard or the power forward spot on FanDuel otherwise. I have Sabonis, Vanderbilt, Boucher, and Bertans, and that's kind of it for me. Like, I'm not really interested in anything else. So it ends up being a spot where obviously you can only roster one center. It's Drummond, it's Vooch, it's Dwight Howard, Miles Turner, DeAndre Jordan. There's only really 5 other options at center. So just pushing those combinations together is hard.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah. So power forward. I mean, I'm like right now, scary numbers on Bradley, scary numbers on Gordon. So it's hard for me to really do anything else. I'm actually trying to maybe take off the 2 uniques, maybe just going 1 and trying to keep it tighter, because right now I'm starting to get so spread out that I'm getting some thigh bowl. I'm starting to get some dead lineups on the bottom. So I'm trying to get rid of those here as we're going.
Fair enough. Are you doing anything else with the rest of Philly?
So Shake Milton is our guy who's randomly spiked upsides in these kind of spots without Joel. So there's just Joel Embiid is this offense. He is the guy. He is everything. He is the say all and end all, the alpha and the omega. So let's start, talking a little bit. Ben Simmons is somebody that I'm not necessarily expecting to go out and trying to score buckets constantly. He's going to create, he's going to run into a double-double, triple-double kind of a situation just by default with Embiid off the floor. But Tobias Harris, Shake Milton, Seth Curry, who might save me from myself from the Anthony Edwards exposure I was having before, because he's cheaper over on FanDuel and an exponentially better play now, especially now that Russell's in. So I'm super excited about getting a lot of Seth Curry here too. Everybody's kind of a good play in this situation. It's difficult for me to I'm going to have a ton of Sixers exposure today.
We are on the exact same page here. Tony Bradley, man, just get in my lineups right now.
Get in my lineups. I don't have a Scottish. It's bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I was talking about going to Scotland today, oddly enough. Anyway, not so important. Great. Indiana side of this ball game. Malcolm Brogdon, I think, looks great on like he normally does. Domantas Sabonis looks great like he normally does. Miles Turner, a guy that I love to roster, although people seem to like him more this year, unfortunately. How are you managing these Pacers?
So the two guys you always start the conversation with are the two that you threw out, Turner, Brogdon. Whatever number you get to, I just am finding it hard to get up to the 9,100 on FanDuel. It's just so hard today. And this could be an absolute spot where he goes for 55, 60 and you need him at lower ownership. So I hate that I spoke that into existence at this moment. Especially now that you're looking at a reduced front court. Joel Embiid is a drastically worse defender. drastically Joel Embiid is a drastically better defender than Dwight Howard and Tony Bradley. And so you're looking at a much, much better spot for Sabonis to get on top of it. Now that I'm even just saying that out loud, I'm going to bump up a little bit more Sabonis just to like have enough that I'm not going to like lose sleep tonight. If I have like 5% and he goes off, that would really suck. Brogdon.
I'm under the field on Sabonis as well, so don't feel too bad.
I do, though, because now we are looking at a spot where, and it's not only that Sabonis is going to have a better opportunity, like rebounds and points putting in the bucket. He's got an assist rate that's been climbing of late. He's a guy who is kind of producing behind the scenes for a lot of different ways. Like he's just so good at basketball. Like Sabonis is just so good. And you want to roster guys who are good as your spend up options, who can do things in a myriad of ways, who can get there, don't have to just be points reliant in so many statistical ways. Like he can get there in so many different ways that I just want to get to a lot on most days. And today it's just so difficult because of the position.
That's fair. Are you looking to anybody else from the Pacers? Is today a Jeremy Lamb day? Any of the holidays? I don't know. TJ McConnell's price is ridiculous. Absolutely not TJ McConnell. Any Jeremy Lamb for you now that he is back?
So Jeremy Lamb is the guy that I wanted to talk about. We saw 30 minutes. I saw 30 minutes out of Jeremy Lamb the last game. That makes me very, very excited to have some Jeremy Lamb exposure because of how confined I am at point guard with Lowry and at power forward with Bradley and Gordon. I'm kind of willing to open up the exposures at shooting guard quite a bit on FanDuel. And Jeremy Lamb at 5,400 for that recent role, him getting the 30 minutes, that just kind of gets me excited to get over the field there. Like I can't see a scenario where I'm not going to be. Aaron Holiday, 0 of. Justin Holiday kind of always sneaks in a little bit. We saw multiple GPP winners that have had Justin Holiday and Doug McDermott sneaking into them of late. I don't really know what to think of that because I'm not going to have a lot of them because it's tough to. But it seems like they're kind of able to spike a random upside. I'm not going to go there today, though. Not with how much Harris and Durant that I'm going to have at small forward.
Yeah, the only guys that I have from Indiana, Sabonis, Brogdon, Lamb, and Turner, between like around 15 to 20 of all of those guys, depending on who's who. Nothing too crazy coming out of anything from Indiana. Guys, we're at 3,500 viewers and 820 likes. If we could hit that thumbs up, one last call for them so we can cross that 1,000 mark as we get a little bit closer to lock. 23 minutes until we lock this one down. One final game to go, 8 o'clock start. Everything else is at 7. This makes for a really fun sweat, too. I like when all the games are popping off at basically the same time. So Cleveland Cavaliers at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Cavs, slight favorites, oddly enough, in Minnesota, probably because Minnesota is straight dookie. We'll start on the Cleveland side. I don't know what to do with this center rotation anymore. It doesn't really appear to be a center rotation, but in limited minutes, Andre Drummond just appears to keep smashing. He's fine today, I think. I have no problem getting there. Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, the Sexland backcourt. I actually have a little bit of both of those guys right now, and I'm getting to Larry Nance as essentially an unowned player on FanDuel. That's 6% ownership. What are you doing with Cleveland against Minnesota?
Yeah, Garland is definitely the guy that I'm going to have the most exposure to out of everybody. The price kind of works. He's at point guard. We saw a 34% usage rate last time out. I like seeing guys who are starting to take over a little bit of the offense as they're coming back from injury. So kind of like all the signs are pointing. Obviously, that was in an absolute shellacking that they got against the Knicks. So, they had Sexton sitting out, I guess, for a little bit of that towards the end of the game. But I have no problem getting way, way over top of 5,200, which is just a low number. Sitting Andre Drummond. So he's kind of like the big question mark for me on FanDuel because I was getting way, way too much. And I was starting to nerf it down a little bit. I'm having a tough time with center on FanDuel in general. Like Naz Reid being there would be a fun piece to have 10% of in this kind of a spot against Drummond, against Nance, against some of these guys, like, 28, 29 minutes, which I'm not even sure if he would necessarily like if he's in, I could assume that he's probably going to get close to it. But like Drummond at 9K, it's unbelievable that he can play sub 30 minutes, but his rates have been that good. Like he is a guy who's a high fantasy point per minute producer, like into that 1.5 number. So like 9K, how much interest do you have compared to like Vooch or obviously just like going way down and punting the position like with a Howard or something?
So I only have 5 centers: Drummond, Vooch, Howard, Turner, Jordan. I don't have anybody else right now. So everything that I have on FanDuel is being soaked up by those 5 guys. And I'm mostly just staying pretty close to the field. I kind of want to, I might make another tweak or two as we move a little bit further to get a little bit more Drummond and a little bit more Vooch. But because I think that they are the 2 best options. Miles Turner would be a close third. I don't see anybody as a guy that I just want to hitch my wagon to. I would rather just have some shares of most of those guys and then hope that I make up for it somewhere else. You did talk about Darius Garland. Other than Kyle Lowry, he's my second highest exposed point guard. I think that $5,200 salary just worked. So let's print some money today, baby.
What in the world? I mean, I swear. So, I mean, last week, I guess we weren't completely in lockstep, but this is definitely like we're running back show number 1 together. So this is good stuff for you, I got to say.
Yeah, I would love to run back show number 1. That was a fantastic show. It was good stuff. Guys, 922 likes. You're so close. 74 more. You guys hit the 50K subscriber mark. I know you'll hit the $1,000 or 1,000 likes mark as well. Are you doing anything else with Cleveland? I have a little bit of Isaac Okoro, but I always do, and I hate it.
Yeah, why would you do that to yourself? Don't do that.
You're talking about like 2 fantasy points per minute.
I was going to say one of the lowest point per minute rates that you can see on the board. Again, I loved watching him play defense at Auburn. That was fun. He's playing, I think, good defense in the NBA. I haven't looked at his defensive efficiency. All I see is that he is incapable of doing jack squat at scoring a basketball, and that's problematic in a game that is, predicated on putting up fantasy points.
Of all the players that have played in the past 18 months in the NBA, Isaac Okoro is not the lowest fantasy producer in my raw rates. There are 5 guys worse than Isaac Okoro. Do you think you can name any of them?
Man, Tony Snell.
He is the next name above Isaac Okoro. So you're certainly in the ballpark.
See, this is a fun game. Because this is what we do every day. We love looking at rates. We love numbers. This is the grossness that we are. So Tony Snell would have to be, okay. So somebody lower than him. Oh, baby. Somebody plays 40 minutes at like small forward and does nothing. Good Lord.
Only 2 of these guys play regularly right now.
Okay, so that's what I'm worried about. So
one probably should. One sort of does, and then the 5th one it doesn't really play. I'm just going to give them to you. You tell me what you think.
Okay, here we go.
So PJ Tucker.
Yeah, he makes it. Oh, that should have been the first one off the bat. That was so terrible. I'm awful.
Tony Snell is a good guess, obviously.
Yeah,
Landry Shamet.
Okay, makes sense.
Semi Ojeleye.
Okay. Wes
Matthews. And the dead last guy in my projection model by 300ths of a fantasy point per possession, which is a massive jump. Wes Matthews at 0.285 per possession. Terrence Ferguson at 0.25. Terrence Ferguson, the worst fantasy player in the NBA that has played in the past 18 months.
I forgot he existed. That's part of the problem. Yeah, I think OKC forgot he existed too. That might be part of it. Hamidou Diallo happened. Terrence Ferguson is still with OKC, right? I'm correct.
No, he's on the Sixers.
Oh, good Lord. That's a problem. See, that's how irrelevant that stat is then. I feel better about it. Tony Snell he's like the point per minute, like not monster. That's kind of who I always think in the back of my mind. But PJ Tucker, that was a big whiff. I apologize to the people.
Tony Snell, Gary Clark, Wes Iwundu, Bryn Forbes, Pat McCaw, Isak Bonga, KCP. That's rounding out the rest of that bottom section. Let's finish off the Minnesota side of this Cleveland game, and then we can start taking some questions for the final 15 minutes. So D'Angelo Russell in, Naz Reid up in the air right now. Outside of D'Angelo Russell for 7,500, 7,600 on DK. I'm not overly interested in Minnesota, but I'm getting to some of these guys sort of by default. How are you handling the Wolves?
Yeah, you're getting a smattering of like 5-8% of these guys. Like, obviously, if Nas were to sit, Vanderbilt is somebody that would end up popping, and I would get quite a bit of. More so on DK, I would get none of, probably still on FanDuel because of how heavy I am elsewhere. Going through this, it's just so gross. Like, obviously, D'Angelo Russell, like, he becomes the piece that you want at 7,500 over on FanDuel. He becomes somebody that I think it wouldn't be that hard to get overweight on. It's just a question of uncertainty. And anytime you wonder, like, what are his minutes going to be coming back from injury? And, we have a track history of certain guys. We don't have it with others. Russell feels like a guy that, like, what reason would they have to, like, rush him back if he wasn't, like a full go in this spot? Like, they're terrible. We're like, I'm a Timberwolves fan. We're an awful basketball team. There's no reason that you would put Russell out there to play 24 minutes, in my opinion. I don't think that they would have any reason to do that. So I'm going to lean towards him being a full go. So at 7,500, eating up all the usage of that offense, he makes sense as a piece that I'm definitely going to get over the field on right now.
I have about 30%. I'm not really taking like too big of a stand on him, but I have him either way. Just happy to get there. Are you getting anything else from Minnesota?
I was getting some Beasley before at small forward, but definitely not now. 6,800. No thanks. I'm good to pass there. He's been kind of it's weird to say, kind of a model of consistency for the most part. Somebody he's only had one game. Actually, he's got 0 that I'm looking at right here in the year 2021, where he's had under a 20% usage rate in a single game. I have no problem if you were to get a little bit, just kind of like mixing it up in that spot. He's not, I'm just worried that, like, we've seen one game over 40 in his last 10. So that's a problem. And now you're bringing Russell into the mix. That's definitely going to be a hit to that usage, but he could still get to like 35, 40 and possibly be optimal. I'm just not going to be taking those risks anymore.
Minnesota is the team I actually have the least of every team on this slate. It's mostly going to Russell. I have a little bit of Jared Vanderbilt just because of the position, and I don't really have much interest elsewhere. I don't have Beasley. I don't have Anthony Edwards. No Naz Reid right now. I'm just not really going to
Anthony
Minnesota.
Edwards was the guy that I had a ton of before the show, and then Seth Curry kind of saved it. So, and now Russell in, obviously. Even if Russell had been in and had Embiid gotten ruled in, I still would have gotten to some Edwards. I don't really see a need anymore.
1,002 likes. We hit that number, baby. What a show. 50,000 subscribers, 1,000 likes. Oh, what a great day. What a great day. And then the Royal Rumble coming up after this for all you wrestling freaks. You got to get in for it. This is the first year I don't actually care about it. Normally we all draw numbers. We watch the Rumble. It's a good time. I end up with prizes. If I win, I've got a Divas Championship belt buckle. I've got a Playboy with wrestlers in it. It's fantastic, but no longer. It's just not as interesting anymore.
Oh, it's sad. That's actually sad.
You know what's interesting?
Ready for it.
Questions from our user base. It's 50K day. It's time to answer the 50K questions. So premium Slack, don't be afraid to get your questions in. We've got 13 minutes until lock. YouTube chat. I'm feeling particularly generous today, so I might even answer YouTube questions because you guys got us to 50K. So drop your questions in now. We've got nothing but time to answer them. I have my lineups in. Fingers crossed nothing else happens so that I don't have to deal with changing them. That would be great.
It's a good call.
Let's get our questions in, everybody. Last question that I see that we got tagged in from Chad. Can you play both Bradley and Howard in DK cash?
Absolutely, you could. Yeah. Both under 4K. Anytime you have two pieces of value under 4K that are going to be splitting minutes, I don't care. You can play them together because in cash, it becomes like less of a factor, especially on a slate that otherwise doesn't have great, like Terrence Davis is going to be in that lineup as well. But like there's nobody else under 4K you'd want to play there. So fire those three up and move on.
I don't mind if you do it, but with Tony Bradley and Dwight Howard both being center eligible, I can see a scenario where you don't get to Dwight. Tony Bradley is a firm lock to your cash lineup. You do not have a choice. He is in there. I can see scenarios where you don't get to Dwight. Like to me, it's just as easy to get to Bruce Brown or Terrence Davis. They're at similar ownership. You just have additional positional flexibility. But I wouldn't like lose my mind if that was the optimal and I had to run with it.
Agreed.
How much Tobias Harris are you getting to on FanDuel?
Tobias Harris, I have 12%.
I have a different amount than you.
Way more, I'm guessing. That's why I was getting 28% Terrence Ross. See, that's the fun of doing these shows. I'm kind of like learning to go on the roll. Like you get people that you didn't want, and that is definitely one of them right there. I didn't have that rule against him.
So I have 40% Tobias Harris, and here's why. So I have 4 guys at small forward: Durant, Siakam, Tobias Harris, Joe Harris, all about 30% likely to be in the optimal lineup. When I get out of that tier, the next closest guy is Larry Nance at 14. So I'm going from 14% likelihood to 30. Okay. And that gap is making me concentrate very heavily on those first 4 guys to start. I'm a little lighter on the field on Kevin Durant, and I'm heavier on those other 3 guys right now, but I still have a bunch of Durant. So for right now, I really like Tobias Harris.
Yeah, that was just, I mean, I listed it off and I felt immediately that was wrong. That was a wrong number to have. So thank you for the question. You saved me money today.
Someone else asking the question, how are you feeling about Lowry and Van Vliet together in a FanDuel GPP? I have them. I have 22 Fred Van Vliet plus Kyle Lowry lineups. I don't have a huge issue with it. Obviously, Van Vliet, tough to get to. But again, I just don't mind. On a 4-game slate, I'm not going to go too crazy with it.
So you're losing OG and you're losing Powell. So like, those are 2 other pieces. Like if you were to combine their usage together or whatever it would be, like you're still talking about the 2 guys that, along with Pascal, you have 3 that are going to just stand out above everybody on any given slate. And now you're taking Powell, OG off. Like, why there would be no issue that I would have with Lowry and Van Vliet popping together, specifically because you are getting 2 other pieces that would generally be pretty predominantly like factored in. They're off the floor. Like Watanabe is not coming in and chucking. Terrence Davis can, but I still see Lowry taking over a lot more of the offense in this situation, or at least fingers crossed that he decides to just like peak it up here. So playing them together, especially with so few options up at that top tier shooting guard, it goes Beal, it goes Van Vliet, it goes Russell. And that's kind of the differentiator for me going up for those 3 together.
We just got some Monopoly money from TJ, $5 Canadian, whatever that corresponds to. I have no idea. A couple loonies.
Like $3 maybe?
FanDuel cash, Lowry and Sexton, or Kyrie and Seth Curry. His other point guard is Darius Garland.
Second one? What? Yeah,
to me, it's
the second one. What?
Yeah, I would say that it's Kyrie and Seth.
Yeah, and I want to get a bunch of them in exposure. I guess for cash, I mean, it just comes down to you're going to be looking at a lot of like 1v1, 2v2 situations. So prepare yourself and have fun. I always want to like take my time when I answer stuff like that because I understand there are a lot of people who just play one lineup. And I don't want to just give an impulse based on what I'm looking at for my projections and just like rattle off what I think the preferred is. I can tell you who I have more of, but I don't ever want to just like rapid fire off somebody that I'm like, okay, this is what you're spending your bankroll on today. I want to give you the time and energy to like understand it. I'm not playing cash, but if I were, I would go with the second.
I agree. Here's one for you. Josh Okogie versus, I assume, Yuta Watanabe in DraftKings, 20 lineup GPP.
Watanabe, and that's gross that I'm saying that, but like if I've watched way too much Timberwolves basketball this season, like an egregious amount, it's hurtful watching Okogie just sit in the corner and legitimately do nothing. Like he's legitimately a waste of space on offense. It is so painful and awful. Watanabe at least like chuck some shots up the other game. I don't expect for 6 for 7, but 20 minutes of run, I guess he played 25 last time out, but like 20 minutes of run of him is better than 35 minutes of run for Okogie. So bad.
7 minutes to go until lock. Not even 6 minutes, 15 seconds. Next question up. In a DraftKings single entry, if you play KD and Kyrie, do you need to run it back with a wizard?
No. You do not. Absolutely not. So when we're talking about a run back for a game, generally, yeah, on a 4-game slate, there's merit to stacking up a game. But the number of people who are going to do that compared to the number of times it's going to work out for you is one thing. We also play a salary game where, you know, you're not looking at a whole lot of value out of Beal and Westbrook. And so jamming them in on top of it, hoping for a game that's already got the highest total on the slate by 20, it's not necessary.
Nope. I'm not worried about it at all in that scenario. Thoughts on Joe Harris in a FanDuel GPP? I love him. I have a ton. He's my most exposed small forward.
There we go.
Happy to have him.
Yeah.
Favorite shooting guard play today on FanDuel?
Let me see.
I'm back.
Guard.
I don't know
Into
how that
the
happened.
abyss. Into the unknown. Okay, we don't have rights to that. Here we are. Shooting guard. So for me, my highest exposed now is D'Angelo Russell. I'm just going to throw that out there, but it's pretty thin. I'm kind of spreading out that position more than others. I have 40% of him now over at shooting guard. Seth Curry is number 2 at 36%. And then I'm getting up to some of the top guys. Beal, I have like 15. I'm sitting a little bit. Where is that number on Van Fleet? That should be there. Oh, he's not there. Hold up. So again, here we go. Make sure that I get my Van Fleet in my life here. Thank you. Another great question.
Whoever's talking about Norvel Pell, don't play him. I'm just, that's coming straight from the news god himself. I'm supposed to put that on ice. So yeah, just don't play him. That's where I'm at. By the way, Bruce Brown, my favorite shooting guard on FanDuel tonight.
Bruce Brown.
Yeah, not that I feel great about that, obviously. Yeah. New super chat from Timothy. Am I crazy for looking at Alex Len for a FanDuel single entry? Yes, you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, super crazy.
Yep, but have fun being crazy. Enjoy that. He can, whatever. It's Alex Len. Don't do it.
He could just as easily not play today. For real.
It's
I mean,
legitimate.
It was. I didn't. He played well. What was that? 2 nights? Was that Friday night or Thursday night?
Yeah.
I didn't even project him in the rotation.
I did not either. I had no idea that was even like a possible thing. And then there was somebody who played it in a single entry I was in, and I just stared at his lineup for 20 minutes and tried to understand what was happening in the meaning of life. But otherwise, like people were trying to like make Jordan Bell a thing, and I was like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah,
10-day contracts. Steer clear now that everybody's back.
Yes, absolutely. What else do we need here? We've got 4 minutes to go. 3 minutes, 15 seconds, apparently. Bruce Brown or TLC on DK. My answer is just going to be Bruce Brown, unless I look at this and find out that the TLC has like a really ridiculous price tag.
Agreed.
Nope, it's still Bruce Brown, and it's not particularly close.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's fun.
We're having fun.
Weird. Am I getting more Simmons or Brogdon on FanDuel? I'll open that question up to you as well.
I am getting...
I have more Simmons, but not by much.
Yeah, same.
29 to 24 for me.
It is 34 to 20 for me.
There we go. Let's see. Not too much time left. 2.5 minutes, guys. Get those lineups in, or you're going to be running not what you want, which is something that I do, unfortunately, too regularly. FanDuel center, Jordan or Turner?
I like Turner more.
I like Turner more as well. Let's get ready to rumble. Yeah, let's do that.
Dun, 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 dun.
I don't know. We don't really have anything else coming in. Premium Slack has basically put it on ice. Everybody's trying to get their lineups in. Terrence Ross or Bruce Brown as a shooting guard on FanDuel?
Bruce Brown, run to the bank.
Yep, agreed. Cantor 33. Josh got the hockey hair going strong. Yeah, it's going away shortly. A couple days. The person that cuts my hair got COVID, or it would already be gone.
That seems unfun.
I got the call the day before my appointment that she has COVID. Yeah. So, well, bummer.
Yeah. Her health is probably more important than your hair.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care about my hair at all. Plus, again, the wife is out of town, so I could look like whatever I want to, and it's not going to get me anywhere.
Just cave troll it up for a week.
Yeah, I'll look like one of the Geico cavemen.
It's an outdated reference.
I guess it is. Yeah, 6:59, 1 minute to go. So one last time, guys, we had north of 3,000 people here. You guys pushed us north of 50,000 subscribers on the channel. I don't have anything else to say other than thank you so much for it. It's going to be exciting to move forward and try to grow even bigger. I think YouTube sends you like fun plaques and things if you get to 100K. So if we hit 50K in 3 years, I'll see in 2024 if the world still exists for 100,000 subscribers. That wouldn't be bad.
Way to go, Mr. Optimistic. I was going to say, I think there's got to be some kind of like a graph that would show that we could do it in a year and a half.
I hope. I mean, with this face, you would think that people would be subscribing like crazy, but apparently not. How much Bradley and Howard would you play on Yahoo? Howard is $14. Bradley is $10. But Bradley a lot.
Bradley a ton. What else? It would be relative to what all the other center positions priced are, and I haven't looked at Yahoo today. I play those on days I'm not doing this, for sure.
Well, it doesn't matter now because we are locked. That is it, 7 p.m., and it is a Sunday, and I don't have any additional pleasantries left. So, Eric, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Happy birthday, Nora. If you're still watching after an hour, I doubt the attention span's there, but love you. And that's all I got. Thank you so much, everybody. 50K is a really cool number, and happy to be a brand new part of this thing, and happy to kind of like ride the coattails.
Not even riding coattails. You're here. You're part of the coattail. You are the coattails, baby. That's the best part of it. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to all the people watching Awesemo.com content. I'll be back again tomorrow morning with the contenders. We'll have all sorts of content like we normally do as we ramp up for the Super Bowl next Sunday. Have some fun. Good luck tonight, guys. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.